All right, folks. Stephen Miller is back in the spotlight. You know, the architect of Trump's cruel immigration policies, the family separations, the Muslim ban, mass deportation plans. That's Stephen Miller. And now he's decided to unload on Democrats over crime. His big argument? The Democrats only care about criminals and illegal aliens. Yeah, that's his new talking point. Let's actually unpack that because, like everything Miller says, it's more fear-mongering than fact.
Now let's bring in White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Hey, Stephen, thank you for joining us. These are pretty remarkable numbers. Talk to me about it.
The numbers are breathtaking. Since President Trump asserted federal control over our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., we have seen a record number of violent offenders, bad guys, gang members, and all kinds of threats to public safety removed off the street, as well as their illegal weapons that they've been using to terrorize the citizens of this city. Additionally, we have seen over 70 homeless encampments that have scarred and disfigured the public streets of this city, dismantled and thrown away, and the homeless cleared from those encampments. At the same time, we have the National Park Service going around and getting rid of the gang graffiti that has been left untouched by this city for decades. Since I've lived here, I moved to Washington, D.C. 20 years ago. And I've seen graffiti in some of our landmarks that has gone unremoved for decades that is now being cleared away. You have gang members that are being taken off the streets. You have druggies that are being taken off the streets. You have our parks being made safe again, our transit being made safe again. Last night, I had the honor and privilege of being at roll call for all of the federal and state officers that are going out in these task force. They are thrilled to be here. They are thrilled at the local level and at the federal level to be able to have this assignment on behalf of President Trump to make our nation's capital safe and clean again. It really is liberation for Washington, D.C., Griff.
So, first off, the whole Democrats love criminals and illegal aliens line is just recycled Fox News fan fiction. It plays well to a certain audience, but the data completely destroys it. Undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit violent crime than native-born citizens. That's not liberal spin, that's peer-reviewed research. But Miller doesn't care about data. He cares about keeping his followers scared and angry. He even went on a rant blaming immigrants for, wait for it, traffic jams. Schools overcrowded, hospitals overwhelmed, crime running wild, all because of immigrants. It's classic scapegoating. When you don't want to address the real root causes of inequality and crime, just blame the other. And here's kicker. Miller loves to pretend Democrats are soft on crime, when in reality Democrats are the ones pushing real solutions. Things like community investment, mental health services, criminal justice reform, police accountability. Policies that actually reduce crime instead of just filling prisons. Meanwhile, Miller's version of law and order is mass deportations and racial profiling. He's not offering solutions, he's selling fear. That's his whole brand. It's like Miller thinks every problem in America, potholes, inflation, even your Wi-Fi being slow, can all be solved if we just deport enough people. You can almost hear him saying, "Your Amazon package was late? Must have been the immigrants." This isn't policy, it's a distraction, and it's dangerous because when you dehumanize entire groups of people, you make cruelty sound like common sense. Democrats don't only care about criminals and illegal aliens. Democrats care about justice, safety, equality, and actually tackling the root causes of crime. Stephen Miller, he cares about headlines, outrage, and keeping Americans divided. And if you want proof of how empty his arguments are, notice how he never cites data, just scary buzzwords. This is the same guy who wanted 3,000 deportations a day, who thought separating kids from their parents was a good idea, who built his career on fear. And now he's here yelling about traffic. Don't fall for it. The facts and the future are on our side.
Today, nearly 800 more National Guard members deployed to D.C. as part of the federal takeover. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley with a rundown of the operation and the changes you'll see in the district.
This is what we are seeing in D.C. during the federal takeover. You can see multiple tanks behind me as well as National Guard members, and this is at Union Station. President Donald Trump has now requested more National Guard members, and the governors of South Carolina and West Virginia are now sending in hundreds of them. And that's on top of the more than 100 D.C. Guard members that have already been deployed here. Now, what we learned from the White House is that at this point, they are not armed, but that they could be. I've been tracking everything that has been happening during this takeover. It was a week ago that the president announced he'd hold a press conference to stop violent crime in Washington, D.C. At the press conference Monday, the president announced it was, quote, Liberation Day for D.C. He put the D.C. Police Department under direct federal control.
Going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
The mayor and other city officials responded for one of the first times following months of warnings from the president.
We are going to do our level best to maintain, as the chief talked about, to maintain the trust that D.C. residents have in us.
Tuesday, I was there as the D.C. National Guard arrived and was deployed in D.C.
He got the call yesterday around 2 p.m. Then he received some orders stating that he has to be deployed for the next 13 days.
7 News continued to track the impact on the ground from the takeover. D.C. crime was already going down before the takeover. Crime stats show no significant change.
I think a lot of us are questioning, and I definitely myself am questioning, why now with this federal takeover?
We learned from the White House that the operation started before Monday's announcement, adding that since last week, there have been 240 arrests, most undocumented immigrants. Thursday, Attorney General Pam Bondi handed over control of the D.C. Police Department to the head of the DEA.
We were surprised. Without notice, we got the order.
Attorney General Brian Schwab sued the Trump administration.
Very gratified that the judge today recognized that that is flagrantly illegal,
keeping MPD Chief Pamela Smith in control as D.C. police step up its cooperation with federal immigration officials during the enforcement takeover.
So today, Washington, D.C. looks more like a militarized zone than the capital of the United States. Nearly 1,500 National Guard troops have now been deployed, doubling the presence in just a matter of days. This isn't a drill. It's part of Donald Trump's so-called crime crackdown in D.C. But let's be honest, this is starting to look a lot less like crime prevention and a lot more like a political takeover. Here's what happened. Earlier this week, about 800 D.C. Guard troops were mobilized. And today, 3 Republican-led states, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio, answered Trump's call, sending hundreds more National Guardsmen to the Capitol. That brings the total presence to nearly 1,500 troops, many of them preparing to carry weapons on D.C. streets. Meanwhile, Trump has already moved to federalize the D.C. Metropolitan Police, essentially stripping the city's elected officials, including Mayor Muriel Bowser, of control over their own law enforcement. Bowser called this move un-American, and honestly, she's right. Let's be clear, nobody is denying that D.C. has crime issues. Every major city does. But the solution is not sending in military troops from other states to occupy the Capitol. That's not public safety, that's political theater. If Trump really cared about crime, he'd invest in community policing, after-school programs, affordable housing, and mental health care. The things that actually lower crime in the long run. Instead, what we're seeing here is a show of force designed to scare people, consolidate power, and silence dissent. This is dangerous for a few reasons. Civil liberties, an armed National Guard patrolling the Capitol, blurs the line between civilian policing and military control. That's not democracy, that's authoritarian creep. Local autonomy. D.C. residents have no governor, no voting representation in Congress, and now no control over their own police. That's taxation without representation on steroids. The precedent: if Trump can deploy out-of-state troops into D.C. for a so-called crime emergency, what's to stop him from doing the same in other blue cities under the same excuse? So when you hear Trump say this is about safety, don't be fooled. This is about power. Militarizing D.C. doesn't solve crime. It undermines democracy. And if we normalize this kind of federal overreach today, tomorrow, it won't just be D.C. It could be New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, any city that doesn't bow to Trump's vision of law and order. Nearly 1,500 troops in the Capitol. That should scare all of us a lot more than the spin he's selling on crime. What do you think? Is this about safety, or is it about Trump flexing control? Drop your thoughts in the comments and see you at the next one.